could you? How could you, Jack?
I'm sorry, I couldn't help it.
Cut! That was horrible! Who wrote the script? Welcome
To the movie show! Active FM.
What's up?
Hey, how are you, listener?
We hope you are well. I am Sash.
And my name is Ryan.
And this is the movie show.
On, of course, Active FM.
Yep. And today we have got...
A prognostic.
Wow, Ryan, can you please explain to our listener what you just said?
Did I put the wording in the right place? Okay.
I don't think so.
I'm going to tell our listeners what prognostic means, for those who don't know, at the end of our show.
Wow.
It's called a cliffhanger.
Okay.
Right.
More
on that later on.
Today we're going to be reviewing, critiquing, I don't know what other word there is.
Well, that's another
slating. Okay, not really.
Slating. Slater.
The Slaters. Yes. A movie by Netflix.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, right. You're like,
but I
what?
thought that you guys said that you didn't like Netflix. Well,
we don't.
Well, your prognostic was that you did not like Netflix because of all the death and stuff and all the gore and people just dying for no sudden reason.
Right. I can honestly say, though, I prefer Netflix. Okay, I'm only saying this because of Stranger Things, their series, but the only series I've watched from a Netflix is Stranger Things. So Stranger Things was good. The rest of what I watched was not that good.
There's a few good ones, but they're difficult to find.
Are they Netflix originals, though?
You see, that is the other question about it.
I'm currently watching a series which is actually very, very good. It's called Timeless. I don't know if you've ever heard about it.
I just did.
So it's called Timeless. It's a series on Netflix, but it's not a Netflix original. It's just it's a series that they've put on.
Put it on.
Yeah. So
Netflix.
It's like, for example, Suits. You can watch Suits on Netflix. It's not because Suits is a Netflix original.
Is Suits anywhere? Does anyone know if Suits is available anywhere else?
So Ryan cancelled his
my
Netflix
subscription. All right. And Wednesday was my last day. So basically we're out of Netflix. But we liked Suits. I enjoyed Suits. And
what season are you on?
4, 5, I think, yes.
How many seasons are there? There's a couple.
My wife started watching it. I think there's 6. My wife started watching it, and I watched along. And eventually, she just went ahead and watched. And next month, I came back at season 6. Not much changed.
Oh, serious?
Same thing, same stuff. I understood what was going on. Yeah, but anyway, enjoyed it. Yes.
My favorite character in Suits was, what was his name? The funny dude. With the dark hair, the short dark hair.
The funny
Louis.
Oh, Louis, yes.
Louis, yes. I like Louis. I haven't watched it in a while, but yeah, so...
He's so dramatic. I know we're not talking about Suits, but he's so, every expression you look at him, he's always dramatic.
I think that's why I liked him.
You could be telling him to go there's a paper in the copier for him, and you'll put an expression like a, you need me type of look when you ask him to get the paper.
Yeah.
But yes.
Yeah. Anyway, back to
Netflix.
So Netflix. So there is Netflix originals, and then there's other stuff on Netflix that isn't actually a Netflix original. And we're specifically talking about Netflix originals that we don't like. So we did in the month of February, we did 4 shows, and we entitled the month Netflix Month, and we basically reviewed 4 Netflix original movies. 3 of them we didn't like, right? I remember one of them, which though it was based on Bonnie and Clyde. What was it called again? The Highwaymen.
Yep. Yes, Highwaymen.
That one was pretty good. But the rest of them, I honestly didn't really enjoy.
What was the other one?
The one was with Ben Affleck, which I hated. I can't even remember what it was called. It was horrible.
So long ago.
The other one was the interactive film Bandersnatch.
Yes.
And then the other one.
That one I felt was like a waste of time.
The other one was weird. And then what was we can't even remember.
That's the one that I'm talking about.
Oh no, the other one was the ballad of
yes, the ballad of
Buster Scruggs.
Yes, that's it.
Yes, that one wasn't bad.
That one was good. It was funny.
It was weird, but it wasn't. It was a good film.
And you remember the way it ended?
Yeah,
it was so weird. Anyway, you guys, you should go. I mean, you should go and listen to those podcasts. You see,
yes. So that was February.
More on this at the end of the show. There's so much more shows that you guys can listen to.
Wow.
All right? You guys cannot be bored with your lives.
Exactly.
Ever.
So now you're probably wondering then, why did you go and watch another Netflix original film? Wow.
Well, this one wasn't out then, okay?
Yes, but I was on Instagram. I feel like I sound like I live on Instagram. I'm not on Instagram all the time. I go on occasionally.
Whenever I need to get hold of Sashi, I just
No, you don't.
I post my face, and then I what when you
what?
you see, I don't live on Instagram, and then I at Sashi's.
Okay, you can go on to Ryan's Instagram
and
right
next
now.
minute the phone call
his
just
name
rings.
is Hoodie Lee, and you can go look at his posts, and he is lying because you will see.
Go look. What was my last post?
I don't know. Oh no,
Neither
that
do
was
I.
your
That's how
wife's
long
post.
ago it was. You see? I don't know.
Okay, anyway, so I was on Instagram and I follow Chris Hemsworth. If you don't know who that is, shame on you. No, I'm joking.
You need to go watch Captain America, Thor, the whole Marvel.
Yeah, the
thing.
whole Marvel universe.
And then go
because-
listen to our podcast that we did on those. Yeah.
So he is Thor, and I follow him on Instagram, and he started posting a lot on a movie, his latest movie that he was in, which is a film called Extraction, and it looked like a heavy action film. I was like, yeah, this looks cool. And then to my surprise, I was like, oh wow, it's a Netflix original, dum dum dum, which we hate. But I was like, okay, you know what? I feel like I trust Chris Hemsworth with movies because, normally he's in good movies. Like, a Will Smith movie. Generally, a Will Smith movie is a good movie. Or like a Brad Pitt movie. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, you trust
Right.
the actor. Like, you wouldn't act in a bad movie, right? Right? So,
No.
so because of that, I was like, okay, let's watch this. And so I watched it with my family. And I went into the film with my theory of every Netflix film ends with death because that's what it normally does. The main character dies. And I'm like, Netflix
Wait
sucks.
a minute. Wait
So
a
if they
minute.
did that in this film, wait
a minute.
let me explain. So I was like, if they do this in this film, I'm going to be angry. So anyway, we're watching the film. I'm enjoying it. I'm like, this is good. I'm freaking out because it is an action / like hectic thriller. It's not really a thriller, but it's a serious action movie. And you're like, flip, this is awesome. This is scary. You're freaking out for the characters. And then the end of the movie comes. Dum, dum, dum.
And the main character dies.
You're supposed to say spoiler alert first,
wait,
right?
Spoiler alert.
So Chris Hemsworth's character, who his name is Tyler Rake, does end up dying in the end. And I was like, no, man. I was angry. I was like, they suck. They freaking did it again. Netflix loves death. Netflix is death. In fact, Netflix must die. Okay, yeah, those were the thoughts that were running through my head. But then, right at the end of the film, there is a very controversial shot that plays where you see, so the little boy, we haven't even told you, Shane, what the whole story is about. Okay, quick pause on my story. So what the story is about is there is a drug lord that basically he's in prison and all of his assets have been frozen, etc., etc. And there's another drug lord, like an enemy drug lord, that ends up kidnapping his son and basically puts his son up for ransom and says, I want this much money, otherwise your son, I'm killing him. Anyway, because he doesn't have any money, he decides to send in a team that will extract, hence the name Extraction, extract his son from this drug lord. I almost said bodyguard.
From the gang.
The gang that's stolen his son. And Chris Hemsworth's character, Tyler Rake, is the person that is hired to do that. I'm not going to tell you the rest of the story because then I'm going to be giving out more spoilers. So go and watch the film if you're interested. But basically at the end of the movie, the son, 8 months later...
dies.
No. he gets extracted successfully. In the process, Tyler Rake dies.
Lots of blood. Bullets.
There was a lot of blood. Sure, there was a lot of blood.
Dust.
And then he ends up jumping into a swimming pool dive. Well, no, it wasn't really a dive. It was more of like a... What do you call that type of... That's not a dive. That's more of like a jump. A reckless straight jump.
No, not reckless. Just
So he jumps into a swimming pool.
straight down.
And then he stays under the water. And then when he comes up, he looks to the side. And in the distance, you see someone who's got the same shape and build
yeah.
as Chris Hemsworth, but the camera never focuses on him, so you don't actually know. You're like, oh, is he alive? Is he not alive? And just the fact that they gave me some hope that he's alive, I was happy. I was like, oh, it didn't end with him dying. So now the question is, did he die or did he not die? Well, we don't know. Basically,
May I just say that is it really possible after him taking a bullet in the neck and all of that stuff for him to hold his breath all the way down?
Look, he did.
Maybe it was part of the plan, because the minute you got shot, you look for the bridge. It's like,
Yes,
water,
exactly.
water, I need water.
Yeah.
And then maybe it's like his plan of disappearing without them having to, but then because the boy, and then I don't know. Yeah.
And his character in the beginning of the film, you do see Chris Hemsworth jump off a cliff.
So now we see the point of the
Yeah. And he then stays underwater for quite a while and is able to hold his breath. So there is a possibility that he's alive. I read reports that said they're basically waiting to see how audiences react to the film to decide whether they are going to be doing a sequel. But funny enough, one of the producers of the movie is the Russo brothers. If you don't know who the Russo brothers are, they
shame on you.
directed Avengers. They are the directors of Avengers, the Russo brothers. And he said something interesting about the possibility of a sequel. That news was released very recently, but we are only going to tell you later on in the show. So listen up for that. So, budget for this film, $65 million.
And apparently, whoa,
65 million US dollars. Now you're like, okay, box office. Well, because they released this movie on Netflix, there wasn't box office. Now, I actually asked Ryan this question. Why did they choose to go with Netflix? Like, what made the Russo brothers go with Netflix? Because it's a film that I think they've been wanting to make for a while. So it was why, you know, they've got the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe. They could have approached Disney. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, why did they go for Netflix? And Joe Russo actually said in an interview that he didn't want to go with Netflix because, and I quote, Netflix has helped reinvent the metric for success. Where you don't have to go through all the box office watches, etc., etc. Instead, it's did you enjoy the film and did you enjoy the story that was being told to you? Instead of it going through box office, getting reviewed, getting, you know, all of the I suppose the paraphernalia that comes with releasing something via box office. So he actually released it via Netflix because he didn't want the pressures of the box office and all the noise and that goes with box office, which is quite interesting. So they decided to take that route, which I suppose is it's a risk in a way, but also it helps Netflix out as well, because with Netflix, Netflix doesn't release their films anywhere else. It's if they say only on Netflix. It's it's what gets you to watch
it attracts
Netflix.
people to getting a subscription, or going to a friend's house and saying, "You got Netflix, right? Can I show you something really awesome? Just put on your telly there. Just have you seen this movie? Have you seen this movie? Do you know who's in it? Let me show you." And then you end up watching it.
Ta-da! So in terms of Extraction on Netflix now, because now it's like, well, is it going to be as successful as it would have been if they released it via box office? So if you look at good films that were previously released on Netflix, one of them was Bird Box with Sandra Bullock, which was one of Netflix's best releases, and it was one of the first time I actually saw like very well-known actors in a Netflix film, because at some point with the Netflix originals, you didn't really see like the big names in the films. There were actors that you didn't really know, or you know, and it's obviously as Netflix was building themselves up. But Netflix said that the new action movie Extraction is pacing to be Netflix's biggest movie, with over 90 million households projected to watch it in the first 4 weeks. Netflix expects Extraction, which was released April 24th, to surpass the streamer's biggest hits like Bird Box, even when taking into account the streamer's recent change in viewing metrics. So Netflix used to, when they considered a view, what they did was if a person watched 70% of a movie or a film series, then they would count it as a view. So you had to watch at least 70% to count it as a view. However, now, which is actually quite a bit.
That is quite tough.
Because I know on YouTube, isn't it a minute? If you watch a minute.
But that makes sense, though. You know, that makes perfect sense, because you've watched the full movie.
Yeah.
And also, if they've watched it to the end, then that tells me that, okay, it was a good film.
But now they've changed their viewing metrics to, it was changed earlier this year, that a view counts if an account watches at least 2 minutes of a movie or TV show. Which I think it's more, they're just spiking up their numbers. But I suppose it's, like, I know YouTube does a thing of a view and then watch time. So the difference between view and watch time is, a view is, I think it's 1 minute. If someone watches 1 minute of your video, you'll get a view. I think that's it used to be like that. I'm not sure if they've changed it now. Yeah. But then you have watch time, which now they're looking at how long did that person watch for? Because, you know, it's easy to go into a YouTube video and watch a minute and then go out because you're not interested, for example. So they've changed the way that their viewing has been, the way they basically, what's the word, count their views. Naturally, then, Extraction would do better than any movie they've ever released, though. Because now, obviously,
They've
they're going to
just changed
get... Because now if you watch 2 minutes of Extraction, then that counts as a view. Whereas previously you had to watch at least 70% of, for example, Bird Box to get a view. So naturally it's going to do better. But Extraction has been prominent on Netflix daily top 10 list of its most popular titles in the US and was the most popular movie on Netflix in the US in the last week. So while Netflix viewing metric measures does not equate to how many people watched a movie or TV show in its entirety, it does bode well for the streamer that its original movies like Extraction have continued to rack up big numbers. Original content is essential as it competes against Disney Plus and upcoming services like HBO Max. Netflix exceeded expectations in Q1 as consumers stayed home due to social distancing measures. It now has a total of 183 million subscribers. And now it has 182 million subscribers because Ryan cancelled his subscription. Globally, and around 70 million in the US, it added nearly 16 million subscribers globally. More than doubled its own forecast and topping Wall Street's projections. So obviously the lockdown has been very good for Netflix, but we said it was going to happen because now what do people do? Netflix and chill.
Well, I'm now on YouTube.
Okay, except for Ryan.
Yeah.
Ryan went. But you probably find YouTube streaming service would obviously do well as well, except Netflix now is the challenge that there's other streaming services that have come up. So Netflix used to be like the only streaming service. It was like you had satellite TV and Netflix, whereas now you have Netflix, Disney Plus, Apple Plus. Oh, it is Apple Plus, right? No, Apple TV. It's not Apple Plus. It's Apple TV. There's this HBO Max thing that we just read about. So there's a whole lot of different streaming sites that are coming up now. So now I think Netflix, even though they've doubled or nearly quadrupled in subscribers, they also have the challenge of people leaving Netflix to go to Disney Plus because it's the same. Disney removed some of their shows from Netflix because they started Disney Plus. So I don't know if you know, there was a series, Phineas and Ferb, which is a Disney series, and they removed it. It was on Netflix. They've removed it from Netflix now, and it's on Disney Plus. So I think also from that perspective, they might lose a few subscribers. Like, would you choose, if you had to choose, Ryan, would you choose Netflix or Disney Plus?
Netflix.
Would you choose Netflix?
Disney sounds more like a whole lot of cartoons and stuff like that.
But remember, Disney has Star Wars. It has Marvel. That's what I'm saying.
You know what? The thing is that what I would do is I would look at. So obviously we're looking. We've cancelled Netflix, but we are looking for another
alternative.
Yeah. So for example, we went to Showmax. We looked on their website. We saw what's available. So we looked at the availability of what's there.
And nothing yet.
Well, we cancelled, and that's as far as it went.
So when Ryan decides to rejoin a streaming service, we will tell us.
Right now, we're fine, but I think, I don't know. I think
because I think, you know, The Mandalorian, which is a Star Wars series.
Yes.
That's only on Disney Plus. So, yeah.
I haven't looked at the Apple TV. I think it is Apple. Yes, Apple TV Plus. You were right. TV.
But there's also, isn't there Disney Plus also, which is a separate thing?
I don't know.
I think it is.
I just know Netflix and Showmax and Google. I mean YouTube.
Right. So back to Extraction. Extraction's actually quite a cool film, being that it's got Chris Hemsworth in it. Plus, it's produced by the Russo brothers, and then the director of this movie is a man named Sam Hargrave.
Sam.
He's also Australian.
Tough Sam.
You're right. Now, this dude is crazy because originally he was a stunt double. In fact, in Captain America, he was Captain America's stunt double. Ta-da!
Yes.
Can you believe it? So he went from being a stunt double to then becoming a stunt coordinator. Apparently, you know the scene in which one was it? Captain America, I think it was Civil War. You know that elevator scene?
I think it was Civil War, yeah.
Where what did they say to him? There was a whole conversation. He literally Captain
in the
America,
safe, right?
Yes,
in the
elevator. He has to fight off a whole bunch of dudes. He was at Hydra, wasn't he? No. I think I'm getting confused. But anyway, it was probably fighting off Hydra because that's the antagonist in Captain America. Apparently, Sam was the one that coordinated that fight sequence. And then he went, he's now a director. So he literally went from being the stunt double to director. And he also has really been involved in the whole Marvel series. He's played a very big role. So I think that's why the Russo brothers actually trusted him.
Yeah, we'll make the connection. Russo brothers, Chris Hemsworth.
And apparently he also, for Avengers Endgame, was the second unit director, which means...
Oh, cool.
So what that means...
Right,
what that means is with films, they don't just have one unit filming at a time. What they'll do is they'll have 2 units so that they can get the filming done quicker, and then they'll just have like 2 separate teams. So for example, in, I think it was The Hobbit, you know, Andy Serkis, who plays Gollum, he was the second unit director for Peter Jackson on The Hobbit. So now for this film, Sam was the second unit director for Avengers Endgame, and now he's the director of Extraction. It's actually his first film that he directed, and I think he did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
It was a pretty... I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it.
Well,
Ryan has different...
You can definitely tell that it is a stunt doubles movie because it's so action-packed.
It's crazy.
That's what I enjoyed about it, was the action.
The cool thing about this, so like, if you've listened to previous shows, we spoke about a movie called 1917, and that whole movie was done in one continuous shot. In other words, it looks like one camera person was following along with them the whole time. Now with this film, they haven't done that, but what they did do was with all their action sequences, it's one continuous shot. So, that is crazy to do that. That is giving yourself a headache and a half. I'm sorry.
It's a lot of practice. Obviously, it's not just, okay, guys, remember what you got to do. Okay, let's go. Action. And then they go. There's rehearsal
crazy.
before that. They got to work out where the camera's going to go. Okay, when this happens, where we're going to go next and stuff like that. So even the cuts, because it's not just one take, continuous shot. They just merge the different sort of takes, and they have to overlap them. It's a lot of practice, but I mean, I think the juice is definitely worth
No,
the
it's
squeeze.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the reason Sam said he did it, he actually did the continuous shots with the action sequence, was he said he wanted to grab the audience and drag them into the sequence and take them real time through an extraction, because that kind of pays off on the promise of the title.
And that's how it feels.
Yeah,
like.
it does.
It feels exactly the same. Now, a question on that. A movie, you cut the shots and you choose your camera angle, because you choose it depending on storytelling, right? Because you want your audience to either feel like a first person in the movie, or you want them to feel like a third person who's witnessing what's going on. But either way, you've got to sort of, you got to bring the story across correctly. And so for me, an action sequence, I love the one-shotters, because you literally feel like you with the actor, the main actor. Like in this movie, you feel like you're also going along with them. And the movie's coming at the back, it's going with them. You're also ducking and diving. At one point, it goes in front of them. Next minute, you're like in the car, at the back of the car. The camera's at the back of the car as well. So you almost feel like... And in fact, I'm sure even when so Chris Hemsworth is driving, even when he looks back, sometimes the camera would also sort of look back.
Yeah.
And so you really, really feel like you're part of the action.
Yeah.
It's really, really... So I love that. I must say, in an action scene, and I think that's what I enjoyed about 1917.
Yeah.
But now the thing is it a thing of, okay, if it is the most effective way of putting your audience through an action movie, why is it not something that you always continuously do, if it is the best way?
I think it's because it's freaking hard to do.
So it's
and one of
difficult to
the
do.
things they've said, so Chris Hemsworth did most of his own stunts. He didn't do all of his own stunts. Ryan was watching an interview. What did he say?
So I had a stunt coordinator with me as well. But I did 97% of the actual acting. So yeah.
So he did 97. He calculated it, worked out all the
Exactly.
Okay, divide that by 97 on the dot. There we go. Almost 96.65. I'll just round it off to 97.
Yeah.
So he did do most of his stunts, and one thing that Sam actually said was they were lucky to have Chris Hemsworth doing it, because first of all, he's capable of doing the stunts, and second of all, he's so dedicated to training and rehearsal. In fact, after a 10 to 12 hour shooting day, apparently Chris would go back to the hotel and then rehearse with the stunt team for another 2 hours. So that's how dedicated he was to the action in this movie. But what Sam did say was it made the one continuous sequence possible, because if you had a stunt double, you then have to cut to hide things, obviously, because
Exactly.
now if you see someone else's face, everyone's going to be like, but that wasn't Chris Hemsworth. But he said with someone like Chris, you can just sit back and watch him do all these amazing stunts, and you're then able to do the continuous shot. So I think the reason why not all action movies do it is because it's not easy to do. And you have to have the actor has to physically be able to pull off most of the stunts.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not going to work.
I'm glad that not all movies do it, because it's a real thrill when it does actually happen.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, for me, this whole movie, I was like on the edge of my seat continuously.
no,
and I love movies like that. I must say, I'm an action junkie. Like, you're continuously on the edge of your seat.
Yeah.
You're like, what's going to happen? The whole movie is on the edge because obviously Chris Hemsworth, you know, Tyler, I can't remember
Rake.
what the
Tyler Rake.
Tyler Rake never really gets out of
Nope.
out of this, whatever the city
Bangladesh.
in
Wasn't he
India.
in
Yes,
Bangladesh?
that's it. He never really gets out of it. And so even like when he sleeps at night, he's still within this risk. And
Yeah.
obviously within a movie, the whole edge of the movie is when you are in this continuous risk. And I think that's what I enjoyed about this action movie.
Yeah.
And he still doesn't get out of.
Shame.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know if he doesn't get out of it because he
Well,
fell into a
You
river.
see, and that was the ending of the
Yeah.
movie. It leaves us with a cliffhanger.
But now the crazy thing is, do you know that one of the action sequences was a total of 12 minutes? 12 minutes of one continuous
That's
action
the first
sequence.
one that was there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, apparently, so the reason Sam did this was he said he actually wanted the whole handheld effect. So if you look at the way it was filmed with it was a handheld camera. And he said he did this because he wanted to feel like he wanted it to feel like a bit of a documentary. However, he thought to himself, shame, he can't put any camera person through this because it's actually too risky, because what the camera person had to do was basically stunts themselves. I mean, literally, it was crazy. So Sam decided that for 10 days he put the camera in his own hands and shot the sequence by himself. So literally,
Which is crazy.
it is crazy. He was on the bonnet of cars. He literally at one part, Chris Hemsworth jumps off a building. I was still like, oh my goodness, that poor camera person. That was Sam. It was the director that
I'm like-
jumps after him.
He jumps. I'm like, "Wait, are you gonna go, buddy?" And he jumps. I'm like, the camera guy jumps.
No, that was crazy. And then, like, literally the stunts that he did, but he said for him, he thought, well, I am a stunt, I've got the experience in stunt doubling and etc. So he put himself in those shoes. He literally took the camera for 10 days and just filmed everything. But one of the hardest things he actually said to do was not jumping from one building to another, which I don't know if I'd ever be able to do. Ryan, would you do it?
If I had like safety stuff,
And wires and stuff.
absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
But he said one of the hardest things to do was actually, there was a lot of running up and down stairs, and he, at one point, down a very thin corridor, he had to run backwards down narrow concrete stairs while filming forward.
That's nuts.
So he was running backwards. In other words,
With a
he's
camera in
facing,
his hand.
He's not looking where he's running. He's backwards, and the camera's in his hands, and he's full. I'm like, how did he do that? How did
Now-
he not fall?
Can I tell you the challenge about being a camera operator is that when you are running backwards, now you'll find often they will have someone guiding them at the
Yeah.
back. Now I don't know if he had someone sort of holding him. So in other words,
How can you though?
well,
While you're running.
so in other words, while you're running backwards, someone is at least just guiding you. You know what I'm saying? Behind you. So they're looking out. If you do fall, they can at least just help you up.
Or you fall on top of them.
No, well, they're holding you. They're like holding you up. Well, not just holding you up, but you know if something happens, they're just going to give you that
Yeah.
bit of a nudge or push just to keep you up on your balance. But when you are running backwards and you're filming forward, I don't know if anybody out there has ever done this. I don't know, filming or whatever. But the thing is that you know that you end up not actually even looking at your viewfinder or your camera. You just film
Yes.
because you're just looking, and then you look at the shot afterwards. You're like, it was a bit shaky. I cut off
But
his
in
head.
an action sequence, I think it's fine.
Well, look, I think
It can't be too shaky.
I think
yeah.
it depends on the shot. You see, if you've got like a midi shot, if you've got enough space around them, that type of thing. But I can't imagine what it must be like holding this like
Big camera.
40, 50,000 rand camera and now you're running backwards, and probably it's sure.
Right.
Yo,
Yeah, it's crazy.
that's rough.
But then also looking at like a lot of the fight sequences. So there was one point that actually, so a lot of the fight sequences, that the way they did it was brilliant. Like the ones they used a dummy because, yeah, the others they just, so that there was one, he kicks a table, and in the one shot you see him kick the table, but there was no one there. Then in the other shot, what they did was they put the table on strings, and as he kicked it, it stopped just before it hit the actor's face, and then the actor just acted like he got hit with the table. But the way it was done, it doesn't actually look like it happened.
The director is a stunt.
Yeah,
Definitely. Stunt, yeah.
There was one part also where they landed on concrete floor, but the floor wasn't actually concrete. It was actually, they made it like, it was like soft. It doesn't look like it, but what they've done is they've made it. It was actually soft. It wasn't actually hard concrete.
Ah, cool.
So it was a part they tumbled downstairs. But then one part specifically that was quite funny was someone said to the director, "Wouldn't it be funny if Tyler Rake kills someone with a rake?"
What?
And he was like, that is actually a good idea. And if you see the first fight sequence of the film, he kills someone with a rake. He grabs a rake.
I think it was the last guy in the room.
Yes. Which is quite a big thing. Like a lot of people have been ranting about the fact that Tyler Rake kills with a rake.
Wow.
Yeah. But
Brilliant.
I think one of the funniest, because I also enjoyed the humor in this film. And I think one of the funny moments for me, yes.
There was humor in it.
There was humor in it.
Serious?
Yes. So at one point, Tyler Rake is sitting with the boy and they're talking, and the boy asks him, "What's your name?"
Yeah.
And then Ryan hates the scene. And then he said to the boy, "My name's Tyler." And the boy says to him, "Oh, you don't look like a Tyler." And then he laughs and says, "Well, what do I look like?" Like, that's just like, when you don't see that in movies. Do you understand? Like, especially in an action movie where, like, "Oh, you don't look like a Tyler."
What's your name? Tyler. And yours? Joe. Oh.
You see, yeah. But I enjoyed the film, Ryan.
Yeah, that scene where Tyler Rake just
has a
cried,
heart.
just out of nowhere. You know, I wouldn't say for no reason. I understand the son and all of that, all back. But I mean, usually, I don't know. It was just wrong person, wrong timing. Like in the guy be at least miff, and then at the end, like they're hiding out or something, and then they have to hide out for the night. And then they start telling each other stories, and then through a whole lot of conversation and getting to know each other, then he's like, "My son," you know. But yeah, it was just like in the beginning.
It wasn't in the beginning, right? It wasn't.
He's like,
it was probably over halfway in the film.
the same. No, I'm saying it's the same scene where he's asking the name. You see, what's your name? Tyler.
No.
Tears.
Okay, I personally had no issue with that scene.
I was just like, no, dude.
Ryan had a serious issue with that scene.
I will never look at Thor the same.
Oh, wow. And just to let you know, there was David Harbour was in this film. If you do not know who that is, he is from Stranger Things.
When I saw him, I'm like,
Yeah, we were all like, "Oh, it's him!" Yeah, that was quite nice to see. And then back to whether there will be a sequel for Extraction. Dum dum dum. So Joe Russo confirmed that he is writing Extraction 2 for Netflix, starring Chris Hemsworth, which is quite cool.
Cool.
I didn't know Joe Russo was a writer. Must be quite honest.
There you go.
So
Well, makes sense. Writer, producer.
we see stunt
director,
double got director.
yeah.
So it's all just interlinked.
Yeah.
Eventually, you start doing everything.
Well, actors are doing that these days, you know.
Yeah.
Usually when you look at an actor, it says director, actor,
Yes.
songwriter.
Songwriter.
It's those three things. They go hand in hand.
So yeah, and just to let you know, Chris Hemsworth did say he'd be stoked if they write a second Extraction.
I would definitely watch that.
Me too. Definitely watch it.
We all want to find.
Can you believe it? There's
Wait
a
a minute.
Netflix movie we like.
I'm just putting this together. The Russo brothers are so clever at cliffhangers. Why do they do this?
Oh yeah, that's true actually.
Why do they do this to us?
That's
you know
very
what?
true.
I hope it's not him. I'm just saying. I hope that.
No, I hope it's
I
him.
hope that figure at the end is not him.
You know what, Ryan? I don't want you to watch Extraction
I
2.
think that he's gonna look as the next movie is gonna start off there where he's at the pool again, probably different camera angles just to give a fresh angle, but same scene, and then you see the camera's gonna be from at the back of this man, and then you see the boy in the pool, and then he's gonna turn around, and then it's gonna be someone different.
I feel like I don't
And the
agree
whole
with
movie
you.
is gonna be about him missing Tyler Rake. And of course, Thor is too busy filming in Marvel Avengers movies.
That's
so
only
he's not
2022,
available.
right?
So he's not available for Extraction 2 or the second Extraction or
Wow.
Extracted.
Wow. So if you think there should be an Extraction 2, then head over to our Instagram page at The Movie Show and you can comment on our posts and say, I want there to be a sequel. Or you can be like Ryan and be like, I don't want there to be a sequel.
No, there is a sequel, but it's not the guy.
Okay,
Yes.
fine. I want it to be the guy.
I want the
I'm
sequel.
really hoping it's Tyler Rake so that Netflix didn't kill the main character again, because Netflix has a thing for doing that.
You see?
Yes. But you can head over to Instagram. So on Instagram, you can find us in two places. The first place is The Movie Show. The second place is Active FM. Just search Active FM, which is really cool because then you get the lowdown on all the shows, anytime, every day. Yes, everything. And then also we are on Facebook and Twitter. We are also on TikTok. And we have an amazing website, www.activefm.co.za.
And this is where we're telling you about there's more and you can't be bored because there are other shows.
Yeah.
You go to activefm.co.za
Yes.
and you'll see all the other shows amongst the movie shows. Yes, you can have
Ta-da.
your pick. It's like a candy store.
Right. And if you would like to listen to us on a podcasting service, then we are on
Google Podcast. It's an app that you download if you've got an Android. And of course, if you have Apple, the Apple Podcast app. You know, the one, just look for it.
the purple one.
If you've never used it, yeah, it's there. Yes, by standard, I promise you it's there. Just, it's there. You subscribe to it. And then whenever a new show comes up, a thing pops up.
Yep.
And then you click on it. It's downloaded already. And then you listen and enjoy. Yeah.
And you can also find us on Spotify. And lastly, YouTube, which
Of
Ryan
course.
completely loves. There are two channels you can find us on. The first one is
Active TV. Search for the channel Active TV. Then you'll see in the playlist the movie show. The other one is Active FM.
Yep.
Search for Active FM. Our shows are also podcasted there.
Yes. Ryan, you wanted to tell us.
By the way, there's two different versions. So on the Active TV, you will actually see we've got the movie show that shows.
the movie
Right?
show
It's
that
different from the Active FM one, which is our podcast
Yes.
version of it. Yeah.
shows. And you wanted to tell us what a word means, Ryan.
Yes.
Do
What?
you even remember
I even
the
forgot
word?
the word. Prog.
For what?
Prog. It means that it is. Sure. How do I explain this? How do I even?
Prognosticators. That was the word.
Prognosticator, which means. I hope I'm going to explain this correctly. It means that. Sure. Can I say this, right? Sashi, you're going to correct me, right? In other words, it's like a prediction of what is going to happen in the future as a result of something that has already happened.
Yes.
Yes.
You're correct, Ryan. Well
There
done.
you go.
There we go.
Yes.
So if you didn't know what that is, then now
the word
you know.
is the word is
Prognosticator.
prognosticator.
Yeah, that's if you're the person that
Yes,
did
I'm a
it.
prognosticator. Yes, and from the prognosis.
Prognosis.
Thank you. Boom.
So this has been the movie show / a slight English lesson. Ta-da! You never know what you're going to get on the movie
Right,
show.
I have to write it on my hand. and
Yes.
and it's in the dash form. Prog dash
Nog-
nos no
Nos, yes.
dash
T. Cater. So from me, Sash,
And I myself, Ryan.
this is the movie show.
We will see you next week.
Peace out.
And stay safe. Tot ziens.
Live, right here on Active FM, we bring to you the Active Worship Inception album.
The joy of the Lord is my strength. I rejoice at your word, unfading. I've been set free instantaneously. I find myself in the presence of the cross. Let my life be defined by your endless victory.
You can stream the album on Spotify and Apple iTunes. If you're interested in downloading the album, well, contact us for more info.